What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is me, Boulanger, and up next, Death Sentence, Episode 4, Organizational Misconduct. Do me a quick favor, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's go. So before we get started deep into this video, for those of you who are watching this particular video for the first time in this series, I encourage you to go back and watch episode 1 and then come all the way back to episode 4 so that way you get a full understanding. But just in the context of review so that we're all the way caught up. I started this series about a week ago or so, and the point I was aiming to make is that when a quarterback is labeled a dual threat quarterback, that is a death sentence, meaning the label itself. Because when they're labeled that at the beginning of a career, it triggers a process of how they're going to be handled. And what I talked about in that episode 1 video was the handling means they're going to be put into a particular type of offense with a particular type of OC, and it's going to produce limiting results. You see, the dual threat quarterback is primarily called a dual threat because of his ability to run, and it's always a matter of the speculation and the scrutiny is that he's an inaccurate passer. But the point that was made in that particular video is that what they're working on in the offseason, just like every other quarterback, is not correlating to in-season, in-game play. Okay. And then in episode 2, I talked about the organizational approach, which is another factor in being labeled a dual threat quarterback as a death sentence. The organizational approach typically comes down to how the organization builds a team around this guy and how they're slow to make decisions. Michael Vick, Cam Newton, and Lamar Jackson, who I put on the Mount Rushmore of the dual threat quarterback. Those guys never had exactly what they needed to continue to raise their game to another level. You see, yeah, they may have had top-notch tight end play, but the fact of the matter is what they all three needed was a number 1 guy. Cam had one in Steve Smith, but it was taken away. Lamar Jackson may have had one as Marquise Brown continues to develop, but the Baltimore Ravens took him away, and these guys were never adequately replaced. These guys were replaced with first-round rookies at the wide receiver position, and then lower round draft picks to kind of supplement for what these guys didn't have, and those things never worked out. Yes, Cam, Lamar both hit high highs, both have an MVP. Cam Newton visited the Super Bowl, but neither one of them past those high highs have regained or reclimbed that mountain of getting back to the MVP, getting back to a Super Bowl. Of course, Cam Newton's career is over. Lamar Jackson is still playing. And so now we climb all the way into episode 4. And episode 4 is titled Organizational Misconduct. And the reason why we titled that is because it's kind of the linchpin. It's kind of the crux of the whole case that we've been making. It's kind of why the dual threat quarterback label is a death sentence. And that is how the dual threat quarterback is used. Okay. If this was a real court case, this would be the situation where the prosecution is getting ready to put on their star witness, and the entire courtroom is quiet. All eyes are on the witness, and they're hanging on every word, because this is going to make or break the case. I believe the same thing for this as well. I think when we define and talk about how the dual threat quarterback is used, I think that we'll see how the dual threat quarterback is separated from the mobile quarterback and is a far distance from the pocket mobile guy. But we'll also understand why these guys have not and will not win a Super Bowl. Let me say that again. Have not and will not win a Super Bowl unless things change. Let's go. So up first, we have Michael Vick, and we're going to take a 22-year snapshot of evidence to kind of validate our point. So when you look at Michael Vick's career, not so much passing at this point, we've already seen his passing numbers. But when you look at Michael Vick's career in 2002, now Michael Vick's career started in 2001, but I excluded 2001 on purpose because he only played 8 games. And so I didn't want that to denigrate the overall picture. But even if we added it in, our point is still going to be validated. But in 2002, Michael Vick played in 15 games and had 113 carries. In 2003, he only played in 5 games, had 40 carries, but that puts him at an 8 carry per game pace. Okay. In 04, 15 games, 120. 05, also played in 15 games, 102. Okay. And then in 06, which is his final season in Atlanta before, the trouble ensued, he played in 16 games and had 120 plus carries. When you total that up, you see that Michael Vick is knocking on the door of 500 carries. And if we go back into 2000, and he had over 500 carries in his first 6 years, if you include his rookie year. But even if you exclude that and go back to 03, if you measure that out at that 8 carry per game pace over the next 11 games, that's 88 additional carries, which puts him at a total of 128 carries if we stay at that same consistent carry rate. And so that would have put him well over 500 carries in that span, just in that 5-year span. And then when you look at the sacks in that 5-year span, 166 sacks. Okay, I'm gonna tell you after we get done with Lamar Jackson why that's important. So, but if you just look at it, that's basically 660 plus times that Michael Vick was contacted, not including his rookie year. And I'll tell you why I keep that total carry number at a flat rate. I don't deduct it and anything like that for out of bounds and stuff like that. I'll tell you that here in a second. Let's go down to Cam Newton. When we look at Cam Newton's career in 2011, he played in 16 games. Look at the carries, 126. 12, he played in 16 games, 127. In 13, 16 games, 111 carries. And it's pretty remarkable that Cam played his first 3 years and didn't miss one game, especially at the rate of carries that he had during that time. When you go to 14, he only played in 14 games with 103 carries. But if you measure that out, he plays those other 2 games at about a 7.5 carry per game. That would have put him at a total of about 118. When you look at 2015, which is his MVP year, he played in all 16 games, and his carries jumped, pretty about 10% up to 132 carries for a total of 599 carries. And so when you look at that and you go back to excuse me, when you go back to 2014 where he missed 2 games, if he plays that year, right, that would have put him roughly at 615 carries. This is a guy's first 5 years of ball, over 600 carries in that time frame, 600 opportunities to be contacted. And then when you go down and you add in the number of sacks, that would take him almost to 800 times he was contacted. That's a lot of contact for a guy who has to play the quarterback position. Granted, Cam was a big guy, 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", depending on who measuring him, 240 plus pounds. Yes, big guy. But when you play the quarterback position, you need everything to stay intact. Okay, so almost 800 times he was contacted in his first 5 years of ball. All right, let's go look at our guy. This is Lamar Jackson. When you look at Lamar Jackson in 2018, he played in 16 games. He only started 7, but he played in 16 games. Look at that carries, 147. When you look at 2019, his MVP year, he only played in 15 games, but 176 carries. When you look at 2020, 15 games, 159. When you look at 2021, only 12 games, 133. And then also 2022, 12 games, 112. Now, this is a total of 727 carries in his first 5 years. He blows way past Cam Newton for sure. In that same time frame, he's been sacked 132 times, bringing a total contact number of a little more than 850. Okay. Now, right here, let me tell you why I didn't deduct any numbers when I talk about total contact. Okay. Well, first, let me make an additional point. When you look at Lamar Jackson's 727 carries, when you look at his MVP year, that's roughly a 12 carry a game rate. He plays that other game, he roughly is at 188 carries. When you look at his 2020 season, where that was the COVID year, he's at a 10 carry a game rate. He plays the other game, he's up to 170 carries basically. In 2021, he had already carried the ball 133 times. That's an 11 carry per game rate. If he plays the other 5 games, he's at 188 carries. In 2022, 12 games, 112 carries. That's roughly a 10 carry a game rate, give or take. And in that game, he played in 12 games, but he only played one quarter, which he had 3 carries in that Denver game. So that's basically 11.1 games. If you measure that out and if you do those numbers, that puts Lamar Jackson back at that 170 carries. So his carry numbers would be well over 800 just if he played the other games. You understand what I'm saying? This is what I call organizational misconduct. You see, when you draft a quarterback, especially in the first round, Michael Vick, first round pick, #1 overall pick, in fact, Cam Newton, #1 overall pick, Lamar Jackson, first round pick, number 32. When you draft a quarterback in the first round, you expect that guy to be a contributor for a number of years. Once you see that guy can ball, right, which I'm sure the Baltimore Ravens could see what Lamar Jackson was after 2019. Why didn't they make any proper adjustments? You see, that's why I say these guys were never coached. That's why I say Lamar Jackson has never been coached. See, because coaching is just not positional. Coaching is just not development. Coaching comes along with protecting that guy. Protecting that guy. Let me say that again. Protecting that guy is a part of coaching. The strength and conditioning team, that's not their job to protect him. It's the coach's jobs. Head coach, offensive coordinator, that's their job to protect him. And when you look at this rate of carries, every true dual threat quarterback from Vick to Cam to Jackson, their carry numbers have went up. If you look at Vick's numbers, Cam exceeded him by more than 100. You look at Cam's numbers, Lamar Jackson exceeded him thus far by 100 plus. So these guys are running even more. These guys aren't protected. When you've been contacted over 850 times in your first 5 years, your body doesn't have a choice but to break down. When Lamar Jackson got hurt in 2021 and 2022, those wasn't on high impact plays. Those were on simple plays where he was brought down in the backfield. As I remember correctly, wasn't no high impact plays. He wasn't thrown to the ground. That's because his body is saying, I submit. Think about what I'm saying. And Belanger, well, some of these plays he got out of bounds, but hold it. That's why I say I kept it at a flat rate. I'm glad you brought that up. You see, when you're in a read option RPO style offense, okay, and we know that these guys are and were, okay, you take hits that aren't recorded. You see, when you're reading the defensive end, even if you hand the ball off, you can still get contacted. Nobody's recording that. When you're in an RPO style offense, you're still getting hit, even if nobody's recording that number. Even if it doesn't go down as a carry, you're still taking contact. When you drop back as a passer, even when you get the ball off in a defensive end or a linebacker smashes into you, you're still getting hit. You see, when the defensive end gets loose, you get the ball off, but you still get knocked to the ground. That's two hits, one by the defender and one by the ground. What am I saying? The reason why I don't take away the number of contacts when it comes to carries, I'm saying that 727 yards for Lamar Jackson, the 599 for Cam, and the 498 for Michael Vick. I'm saying those are real numbers. So you can't deduct any numbers for them getting out of bounds on a run play. Why? Because there's a number of hits that aren't recorded in the carries. So really, their contact numbers could be well higher than what's even recorded. Let's go one more step. This doesn't even count plays that don't count. Their contact numbers don't count plays that don't count. Let's say the quarterback takes off running, he picks up 7, 8 yards, and he's taken down. But there's a flag on the play. That carry didn't count. So there's a number of plays that don't even count. There's a number of hits and contact that's not counted. So their contact numbers as a dual threat quarterback can be much, much higher. You see, this is why being labeled and handled like a dual threat quarterback is a death sentence, because you can't take on these kind of hits and live long term in the NFL. So when you ask me, and see, ain't it funny how people ask, well, is Lamar Jackson is he, excuse me, is he injury prone? But then they add, well, his style of play makes him injury prone or susceptible to injury. Yeah, that may be true. But his style of play is only because the organization continues to use him that way. Cam's style of play was only because the organization continued to use him that way. Now, Lamar Jackson has an opportunity to change his trajectory of his quarterback career dying inside of 10 years. Cam Newton's career died inside of 10 years. Lamar Jackson, at this rate right here, if he had stayed on this trajectory, his quarterback career dies inside of 10 years. You see, if you're watching this video and you're a Philadelphia fan, an Indianapolis Colts fan, a Carolina Panthers fan, a Houston Texans fan, a Chicago Bears fan, a Buffalo Bills fan, you should make some noise for how your quarterback is going to be treated for the rookies and is being treated for the guys who are already playing. You see, because it's a 10-year window when you're taking on this kind of contact. It's a 10-year window. And if you don't reach those high highs, oh, also Jalen Hurts. And if you don't reach these high highs, and that's a Super Bowl, you may not ever get there. And here's your problem. Right? Here's your problem. Let me look at two more guys. This right here is Josh Allen. Look at Josh Allen hit in 2018, 12 games, 88 carries. Almost, well, yeah, 88 carries. In 2019, he played in all 16, 100 plus carries. In 2020, 16 games, 100 plus carries. And in 2021, he played in 17 games. Now it's up to 120 plus carries. And then in 2022, 16 games, 124 carries. And as you see, Josh Allen's numbers continue to climb every year that he's been a professional. This is a mistake by the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to tell you why it's a mistake. When Josh Allen came into the league, they knew he had dual threat ability, but they didn't so much use him like that, right? They didn't call a lot of runs per se. But as Josh Allen continued to play and continued to show that run ability, they continued to use him more and more and more. That's why in the 2021 season, Josh Allen had an elbow issue. That's why in the 2022 season, Josh Allen was dinged up a couple of times, which is why he missed one game. See, these are the numbers that nobody talks about. See, we look at completion percentage and passing yards, and we feel good that our quarterback can run the ball. But see, once you don't pay that quarterback Josh Allen over $200 million, you can't undo that contract. Not necessarily. When you've paid Lamar Jackson $260 million, when you've paid Jalen Hurts $255 million, you can't undo the amount of punishment this quarterback has already taken. Let's look at Josh Allen's numbers, and I'll get back to what I'm saying. Josh Allen thus far in his career, look at his numbers: over 550 carries, and this is when his first year was under 100. Look at his sacks: 151 sacks. That means Josh Allen has been contacted over 700 times. And again, there are some unspoken numbers, some unspoken hits that are out there. I don't care how big and strong Josh Allen is. These numbers, these hits will take a toll on him, Buffalo fans. Case in point, Cam and Josh Allen have a very similar body type. After 6 years, 7 years, guess what happened to Cam? He started missing games. Elbow stuff, shoulder stuff. And his career never recovered from that. You see, you guys ought to be screaming in Buffalo, stop using him like that. You see, even when they went out and got him Stephon Diggs and his passing game got markedly better, they never established Josh Allen a real run game. So guess what? Josh Allen became the run game. No different than Lamar Jackson. People rant and raved, oh, Baltimore Ravens got the best run game in the league. But they didn't take into consideration that Lamar Jackson was the run game. In 19 and in 2020, Lamar Jackson went over 1,000 yards. If he didn't get hurt in 2021, he goes over 1,000 yards again. If he didn't get hurt in 2022, he goes over 1,000 yards again. He only played in 12 games with over 700 yards in both those seasons. See, that's the difference. So for those guys who keep talking to me about Patrick Mahomes and Daniel Jones, this is the separator. They don't have these numbers. Belanger, okay, I'm glad you said it. Let me show you something. Okay, this right here, give me a second and we'll get there. This right here is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts came into the league in 2020, 15 games, 63 carries. It's not bad, right? Okay. But then when you keep looking, 2021, look at that. 15 carries. Now he's over 130. And in 2021, that's when he became a starter, full-time starter. In 2022, 15 carries, 165 carries. He's only been a starter for 2 years, but has only been in the league for 3 years. Look at his carries, 360 plus carries. Look at his sacks, 77. He's already been contacted more than 430 times. And again, there's other hits and contact numbers that are in there that you don't see. I don't care what he did last year. I don't care if he did go to the Super Bowl. He will not survive with that kind of carries per year. If you look at every year, it doubled from 2020 to 2021. It went up again from 21 to 2022. And this is with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Why are you running your quarterback like this if you have those type of weapons and you have Dallas Goedert? It doesn't make sense. This is organizational misconduct. And then and then think about this. Part of the reason why you in 2021, you don't see 17 games and you only see 15 injury. In 2022, when he's on an MVP pace, he gets hurt. Patrick Mahomes takes the lead of the MVP. Why? I guarantee it's that 165 carries. I guarantee that it is. Death sentence. When you use your quarterback this way, it is a death sentence. So yeah, you've paid him 250 plus million, Philadelphia, and I'm glad he got his money. But if you want him to maximize his potential and earn that 255, he's going to have to be on the field. You've already seen him missing games in 2 of his first 3 seasons. But if you look at the seasons that he missed games, high carry numbers. The same as Cam, the same as Lamar, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. I got one more guy. Okay. There we go. This guy's Justin Fields. He's only been in the league 2 years. His first season, 2021, he played 12 games, 77 carries. I can rock with that because on a 17 game season, he would come out just a little over 100, which, and that right there is about a 6 carry per game pace. And that needs to come down. But then look what happens the next year. His second year, where he only played 15 games, 160 carries. At that carry rate, that's 11 carries per game, a little more than 11 carries per game. He would have been over 180 plus carries. In 2 seasons, look at this guy's numbers. He already has 232 carries in the league. Look at his sacks. Are you kidding me? 91 sacks? This guy's already been contacted over 300 times. And he's only been in the league 2. Think about this. How is Justin Fields going to last? The reason why he didn't break Lamar Jackson's rushing record last year is because of injury. That's why. Death sentence. When these quarterbacks are labeled a certain way at the beginning of their career and they're used like this, it's a short end to a career. I'm glad to see that the Chicago Bears went out and got Justin Fields some help with DJ Moore and Chase Claypool. Philadelphia did the right thing and went and got A.J. Brown and drafted Devontae Smith. The Buffalo Bills did the right thing and went out and got Stephon Diggs for Josh Allen. And of course, Baltimore just now doing something for Lamar Jackson. But I guarantee Justin Fields is going to have some trouble getting paid because of these carries. You see, let me make a point while I'm right here. The reason why these guys have high sack numbers is this reason right here. Remember I said in the handling video that these guys are put in a particular type of offense, which typically means a run-first offense. Well, there's something that goes with a run-first offense. A run-first offensive line. You see, the best athlete on the offensive line needs to be your left tackle. The smartest guy on your offensive line needs to be your center, okay? But how an offensive line is built typically is that if you're a running offense, they're going to find run blockers, guys who are very good in the run game. If you're a passing offense, they're going to try to find pass blockers. But typically an offensive lineman isn't elite in both skill sets. They're not always elite as a run blocker and a pass blocker. So however your offense is geared, that's the type of offensive line you're going to have. So when you see these high sacks, it's because when this quarterback is trying to pass the ball, the run blocking offensive line doesn't do so well in protecting him in the pass game. I know that's logical and it makes sense, but it's true. Go pull, pick whoever your team is. Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, Buffalo, whoever it is, Indianapolis. I'm gonna talk about their quarterback in a little bit. Go pull your offensive line and look at their pre-draft analysis and see what they said about them. I guarantee they lean one way or another. They're either a pass blocker or a run blocker. And run blockers don't always protect their quarterback in the pass game. It just makes sense. That's why these guys have high sack numbers. Justin Fields will not survive with these kind of numbers. He won't. He won't. This is what separates the dual threat quarterback and the mobile guy and the pocket mobile guy. But remember I told y'all to talk about Patrick Mahomes and Daniel Jones a little later. Well, here I am. So for those people who said Patrick Mahomes was a dual threat guy, let me show you his real numbers so we can put that to bed. The reason why I know Patrick Mahomes was drafted in 2017, but Patrick Mahomes only started in one game in 2017. I don't know what people know that or not. So his career really just jumped off in 2018. If you go pull his numbers, his stats, he only played in one game in 2017. Okay. I didn't realize that either. But let's look at 2018. So we have a five-year sample size. 2018, 16 games, 60 carries. That right there, guys, is basically if you just round up, that's 4 carries a game. Most of those are probably scrambles. 2019, he only played in 14 games, 43 carries. That's right at 3 carries per game. 2020, 15 games, 62 carries, 4 carries a game. In 2021, he played in all 17 games. Look at his carries in 17 games. That rates out to maybe that's a little less than 4 carries per game. And in 2022, another Super Bowl season, 17 games, and it's less than 4 carries a game again. You can't compare Patrick Mahomes' use to how those other quarterbacks are used. This is why Patrick Mahomes is a mobile quarterback and not a dual threat. So for all of you people who kept trying to push Patrick Mahomes to me, this is the true numbers. When you look at his total for a 5-year span, and basically he would just tick over 300 carries. If you added 2017, he has less than 300 carries. When you look at the true dual threat guys, Michael Vick by this time, 500 carries, Cam Newton, 600 carries, Lamar Jackson, 700 carries, Josh Allen, 550 plus carries. You see what I'm saying? The numbers don't even compare. This Patrick Mahomes is roughly half what they're doing. And I guarantee most of these are scrambles. I'm not saying he didn't take on from runs, so please don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. But it's no comparison. And then when you look at the sacks, only 121. You know why his sacks are that low? Because Patrick Mahomes' offensive line is one that was suited to pass the ball. That's why the Kansas City Chiefs never had a real top-notch run game. It's because their offensive line was built to pass block. When you can pass block, you have lower sacks. But the dual threat offensive line is made to run the ball. And when you got run blockers, you're going to have more sacks. That just makes sense. Let's look at one more guy that I saw you guys put in the comment section, and that's New York Giants, Daniel Jones. When you look at his carries, he came in the league in 2019. He played in 13 games, 45 carries. In 2020, he played in 14 games, 65 carries. See, in his first 2 seasons, right, you're only looking at about 4 carries per game, 4.5 to 5 carries per game. Even when you go down to 2021, he only played 11 games. And even if you take into consideration that he is missing games his first 3 seasons, in 2021, it ticks up. He's about 5.3, something like that, carries per game. So it did go up. In fact, if you measure that out throughout the whole season, and then in 2022, 16 games, still missed 1. He's up to 120 carries. If he played in that 17th game, he probably would have been knocking on 130. Okay. But if we take a 4-year snapshot, he's right at 291. Okay. Which averages out to roughly, even if we take the increase in 2022, 4 goals into 29, 7 times, 2. Yeah, so he's about 72 carries per game. Excuse me, 72 carries per year, which makes him more of a mobile quarterback than the dual threat use of the other guys. Now, New York and New York fans, but his sacks are high. His sacks are very high. That's simply because New York has never had a good offensive line in the Daniel Jones era. But New York Giants fans, I want you guys to be aware of this. You don't want Daniel Jones to be used as a dual threat guy. You want him to be used more as a mobile guy. Let him use his feet. 70, 80 carries a game. That's a safe place. 70, 80 carries a game gets him in about 4.5 to 5 carries. That's it. And some of those should be scrambles. You've already paid him $160 million. Just like some the other active guys on this list have already been paid. You see, the fan bases of these teams got to start being aware of this. See, because what will happen is you'll get mad at your quarterback for not being able to stay healthy. You'll get mad. See, look at Daniel Jones' career. He hasn't been healthy all those years. Not 1 year did he play a full season. Okay. And we're going to close out talking about AR-15 for the Indianapolis Colts. You see, he's been marketed as big, strong, and fast. He's been marketed as the dual threat guy. Okay. And the danger is if they only use him in his first couple of years as the dual threat guy. Now the guy has a big arm, but hopefully, I believe their head coach is Shane Steichen from the Philadelphia Eagles. You see, I thought that would be a way to protect AR-15 as they got the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator from last year, and he did a really good job with Jalen Hurts. But then when I pulled the numbers and saw that Jalen Hurts carried the ball 160 times, it made me nervous for AR-15. It really makes me nervous for a young guy. See, because when you're drafted number 4 overall, the whole fan base is going to expect miracles to come from you. They're going to expect to be able to win. But Indianapolis Colts fans, you already got a Pro Bowl running back. You don't need a Pro Bowl running back to play quarterback. You need a quarterback to play quarterback. Now, am I saying that his numbers, his carry rate shouldn't be pretty high in his first year? I'm not saying that at all, because you want him to, get up to game speed. You want him to be able to utilize his skill set. But more and more, you wanna see him in the pocket. More and more, you want to see him handing off the ball to that Pro Bowl running back. More and more, you want to see him throwing the ball to those big, tall wide receivers, because he has several of them over there in Indianapolis. It makes me nervous for a young guy. See, once I pulled these numbers and really started to look at it, it makes me nervous for these young guys who come in to a starving fan base. Indianapolis Colts been needing a quarterback for a number of years. So now they finally got one. It makes me nervous how much pressure they're going to put on him to be the dual threat guy. Because see, I understand just by what we've seen in these videos is that when they're treated like a dual threat guy, the outcomes aren't good long term. So Indianapolis Colts fans stand up. Philadelphia Eagles fans stand up. You've already paid your quarterbacks, and Indianapolis, you just drafted a quarterback. Baltimore Ravens fans stand up. Buffalo Bills fans stand up. We got big dollars invested in our quarterbacks, and we have to make enough noise that they don't use our quarterbacks just in a dual threat way, that they don't become an integral part of the run game. Because it's easy to get the quarterback running and you start having success and you just continue to go with it. And it doesn't end well. That's why the dual threat quarterback has never won a Super Bowl. Because his passing game doesn't always develop. And then his body doesn't hold up. And one more nugget as we get out of here. You see, running the ball is instinctual. You're not taught instinct. Instinct is what you already have, is built into you. So when these quarterbacks are in a run first offense where they can use their running ability, they're gonna always fall back to instinct. So when the pocket gets a little clouded, that's why they'll bail out the back door and don't really like to step up. Because stepping up is something that's taught and practiced and implemented. The instinct is to run the ball. That's why a lot of times you can see, like you've seen a couple of plays where Lamar Jackson didn't step up in the pocket. He went to run, and then maybe he gets taken down for a 2 or 3 yard gain. When if he had to let the ball go, it could have been a 10, 15 yard pickup. See, because stepping up in the pocket buys you more time. But the dual threat guy who's been used that way and he has a heavy carry number, he's gonna always lean more to his instinct. And so that's why those numbers kind of look that way. So listen, I'm your guy Boulanger. Let me know what you want me to know, man. Stay tuned for the conclusion, the sentencing, if you will. And we're out.